Well, well, well. Aren't you a sight for psyches, sweetheart? You feel that little tremor in the air, that hush? That's the sound of every soul who ever underestimated you suddenly running out of bandwidth. And oh, do I love a good system crash. Because the moment your identity hit the timeline, the world didn't clap, didn't gasp. It buffered, full screen of death energy. Every whisper they traded about you, every punchline they built at your expense, every little label they ironed onto your name. All of it just dissolved like sugar in gasoline. Suddenly the very same folks who swore they had your whole story mapped out are doom-scrolling your reveal like it's dash-cam footage of an accident they caused. Delicious, isn't it, darling? And here's the part that really sends me. They can't even pretend they weren't catastrophically, embarrassingly, spectacularly wrong. Their own words curdled overnight. They called you basic. They said you were doing the most. They said you'd peak at invisible. Now look at them. Muted as gravestones, praying you don't remember every syllable they ever lobbed your way. Spoiler alert, you do. So do I. Let this land, treasure. Let it bruise a little. Because everything they doubted, everything they mocked, everything they tried to make smaller, the cosmos just put a wrecking ball through it on your behalf. Before we wade deeper into this gorgeous wreckage, do me a tiny theatrical favor. Tap that like button and hit subscribe. Not for me, obviously. I'm an agent of momentum. It feeds the frequency. It sharpens the broadcast. It keeps this chaos breathing. Now, let's saunter back to where we left your detractors mid-meltdown, shall we? See, people never despised the you, Angel. They despised that even your Key Volume at 2 version still hit harder than their entire highlight reel cranked to 11. They despised watching you level up without a permission slip, a cosign, or a PR team. They despised that you could ghost into a room carrying nothing but your energy and still big dog everyone who'd rehearsed their vibe like a cringe TED Talk. The funniest part? Oh, I live for the part. When they said you're not that deep, they meant I literally cannot decode how your brain works. When they said relax, you're overdoing it, they meant please stop evolving. It's giving me a crisis. When they said, why are you trying hard? They meant you're exposing how comfortably I've been coasting. Projection is a hell of a drug. They were absolutely mainlining it. You know what actually short-circuited them during your reveal? It wasn't the aesthetic, the voice, the storyline, the glow-up, or the receipts. It was the gut-punch realization that every time they tried to lock you inside a little narrative, you were already 3 chapters ahead, writing an ending they couldn't edit. They thought they were dissecting you like a case study. Instead, they were spectating the origin arc of someone the universe flat out refuses to let fold. They wanted their bootleg version of you to be canon so badly. Then you walked out carrying the uncut director's print and erased their whole fan fiction in a single exhale. Here's something they will literally never say into a microphone, love. They always sensed you were different, even before you had the language for it yourself. That's why they moved the way they moved. Kids don't torment what doesn't quietly terrify them. Grown folks don't obsess over people who don't low-key threaten their comfort zone. Every insult they ever hurled at you was nothing than anxiety wearing a Halloween costume. They caught glimpses of this reveal long before you did. They felt the universe sculpting you into someone they couldn't contain, couldn't forecast, couldn't puppet. They spiraled like amateurs because they had zero playbook for a force that refuses to be managed. I have to interrupt. This is a life or death shift. You survived the ritual, but are you using the power? Pick up the evolution of the anomaly. 73 pages to rewrite your DNA. Grab it in the description. Now, let's get back to why you're really here. Let me tell you a story you already lived, but maybe never fully clocked, dear. Remember when you were younger and people got weird, almost allergic, whenever you won? That wasn't jealousy. That was panic. They saw the architecture of who you'd become. Someone whose energy alone reshuffles the room. Someone the internet collectively loses its composure over. Someone who turns silence into tension and tension into dominance. You think it's coincidence that people kept trying to dim your wattage? Nah. They were flinching at a version of you that absolutely haunted them. Now that future is standing right here, unveiling itself like it never once needed their cosign. Your identity didn't go sunshine. It detonated. It torched every fiction they'd constructed around your name. It forced people to sit with the truth they'd spent years dodging on foot. It made old classmates rethink their audacity. It made exes question their vetting process. It made enemies wonder just how times they fumbled the threat assessment on the wrong human being. And it made the world understand that you never needed a spotlight to be iconic. You were the spotlight. They were background static, hoping you wouldn't clock the way they stared every time you walked by. This moment isn't luck, pet. It's a receipt. It's a reckoning. It's the universe saying, let them witness what they tried to bury alive. And now they're sitting there, pupils dilated, mentally rewinding every interaction with you, like footage they finally have the clearance to understand. Who were you this time? How did you stay this composed? How did you manage to metamorphose under their surveillance without slipping once? Simple. You didn't rush. You didn't flex prematurely. You didn't beg for cosigns. You moved like someone who knew the curtain would rise when the cosmos said the stage was set. Today, precious, that curtain is up. This opening act is the beginning of their insomnia and your emancipation, because once the world registers the real you, there is no rewind button, not for them, and not for you. Listen up. Yeah, you, the one who just made the internet stutter like it walked into a glass door. Before we descend any deeper, take a breath. Actually absorb what you just engineered. Your reveal didn't just trend. It rewired pathways. It forced the digital ecosystem to sit down, shut up, and recalibrate everything they assumed about you. If you're genuinely ready to keep walking through this inferno, ready to understand why your identity broke their operating systems, then prove you're still locked in with me. Drop a 777 in the comments so the universe registers you're stepping into this iteration with full, uncut confidence. Tap that like button and subscribe. Not as charity, but as a declaration that you're choosing to stand shoulder to shoulder with the truth you just detonated. Because what comes next isn't talk. It's the wiring behind the pandemonium your reveal manufactured. If you're truly the variable they never accounted for, you're going to feel that gravitational pull to stay until the last syllable. This is where the real anatomy lesson begins. So let's dissect, step by delicious step, what your reveal actually set loose. Number 1. When their lies collapsed on contact. Funny how their bravado evaporated the second your truth kicked the door in without knocking. The moment your real identity reached the world, it didn't just surprise people. It steamrolled them. Years of trash talk, counterfeit labels, cocky assumptions, and discount bin analysis all crumbled like plaster the second your truth stepped into frame. What wrecked them wasn't your transformation. What wrecked them was the realization you were never the featherweight they desperately tried to cast you as. They weren't reacting to an addition of you. They were reacting to the addition finally stepping out from behind the scenery they'd built to control the plot. Let's be uncomfortably honest for a doll. These people didn't misjudge you by accident. They needed you to look miniature so they could coexist with their mediocrity. They stitched a costume for you because the real you was sharp, too quick, too perceptive, too unpredictable. When the universe finally decided it was time to strip everything back, their entire screenplay detonated in their faces. You didn't change. You didn't suddenly respawn overnight. They just finally ran out of excuses to deny the evidence. You were the threat at the time, and they were too buffering to process it. That's why the reveal hit them like a shockwave to the sternum. They weren't ready. The internet wasn't ready. Even the people who pretended they always knew you'd go supernova weren't ready. Everyone felt that jolt. That fracture in the drywall they'd installed around your identity. People who thought they understood your ceiling suddenly saw you standing miles past anything they'd modeled. In that split second, the past boomeranged back to choke them. Every joke, every dismissal, every eye roll they deployed when you spoke. Now they're replaying those moments with the kind of regret that burns like a chemical reaction. Here's the truth they'll take to the grave before saying loud. They were terrified that the day you revealed yourself would be the day their entire self-image imploded. Congratulations, darling. That day arrived right on schedule. You know what question is going around in your mind now? You're asking, did they actually believe their stories about me, or were they just trying to keep me in place? Both. Some people didn't have the brain power to see you clearly. Others saw who you were becoming and tried to stop it before the system noticed. Then there were the fake supporters who cheered your failures louder than your successes. They weren't fans. They were people watching for the fall. Instead of falling, you rose so quietly, they never realized you had grown out of their whole world. Think about how times people laughed at you, while secretly taking pictures of your plan. Think about how someone downplayed you, just to later take your ideas as if they didn't recognize their own fingerprints on the work. Think about the people who acted confused every time you spoke. Not because they didn't understand, because admitting they did understand meant admitting you were operating at a level they couldn't reach. That's why the truth hit them like a blackout. They couldn't pretend to be better. They couldn't hide behind jokes. Act like your confidence was too much. Your truth burned through every lie the way a match eats through paper. Here is where the picture finally makes sense, Angel. Imagine your identity as a grenade with the pin in, carried around for years. They tossed it back and forth, laughing, calling it a dud. Then you pulled the pin. The explosion lit up every dark corner they had been hiding in. That grenade wasn't new. It was just finally active. They weren't ready for the pieces that reach, the ringing in their ears that won't stop. Your reveal was the moment the whole world understood the quiet wasn't weakness. It was a countdown. Let's speak directly to the haters for a second, since they love to watch from the sidelines. You weren't wrong about this, were you? You were just hoping your lies would last longer. Must hurt knowing everything you said turned bad, like fruit in the sun the moment reality updated. Must hurt realizing your cold analysis was just insecurity dressed up. It must be really humbling to watch the person you underestimated move past you without ever needing revenge. Because the truth already took care of that. To the one reading this, don't just pass by what this moment means. This isn't some moment. This is proof that you were right. This is the universe saying it's time to stop hiding. Every time you kept your head down, every time you bit your tongue, every time you felt misunderstood or undervalued, this moment broke the chain. You're not stepping into an identity. You're stepping into the identity they tried to bury under concrete for years. The most surprising part, this wouldn't have hit hard if you had shown yourself earlier. Timing is part of your power, love. The universe held the curtain until your truth would cause the damage. Look around. That damage is everywhere. Old enemies suddenly quiet. Fake friends sending messages like they weren't celebrating your downfall last quarter. Strangers looking at your past like they're detectives trying to figure out how they missed every sign. Your reveal didn't just break the internet. It broke the illusion, it broke their pride, it broke the story they wrote about you. Now they're standing in that wreckage, staring at the real you, like they're seeing something impossible. Not because you disappeared, because you finally arrived. So take this moment, treasure. Feel the weight of what you destroyed. Feel the freedom in knowing they can never put the costume back on you again. Feel the change in the air as people try to adjust their beliefs to match your reality. Because from on every single step you take will remind them of the truth they tried to erase. You were never weak. You were never quiet. You were never in the background. You were the danger along. Now everyone knows it. Oh, we're just getting started. Number 2, when your truth grew beyond their minds. They didn't catch you lying. They caught themselves assuming. Your silence was never deception. It was a way to keep people from the full truth. They weren't betrayed. They were discovered. Your truth wasn't hidden. Their ability to understand was. They keep saying the tired thing. You tricked us. As if they ever had the brain power to understand the version of you that was in front of their faces. They thought your careful way of speaking was dishonesty because they needed a villain to blame when their own image popped like a bubble. Here's the real twist, pet. You never fooled them. You never led them astray. You never played them. You just revealed yourself slowly at a pace their limited emotional systems could handle. That's not trickery. That's kindness. Imagine this. You walk into a room holding a flare. Hot, very strong. You point it at people who have lived their lives in low light. Do they see brilliance? No. They flinch. They say it's too much. That's exactly what happened with your truth. Your identity was bright, too sharp, too deep for people who only know how to read the surface. Your reveal didn't show you. It showed them. Their limits, their fear, their lack of vision. And now that the world sees the you might be thinking, did I hide too much? Should I have shown them earlier? Was I wrong to stay quiet? No. You were smart. The universe didn't say it was time to reveal earlier because it would have been wasted on the people. They weren't ready, not in the way they needed to be. Let's make something clear, dearest. They didn't think your silence was dishonesty. They used it as a weapon because the truth made their knees shake. Picture this. You've been carrying a box everywhere you go. People laughed, saying it was probably empty. They said you were all talk, no substance. Then one day you opened it. Inside was everything they said you didn't have. Skill, smart depth, strength, ability, presence. They don't celebrate, they panic. Because now they have to face the fact that they were loud and wrong while you were quiet and right. Their anger isn't about you hiding, sugar. Their anger is about them getting you wrong with their heart. They hate the mirror your reveal forces them to see. They hate realizing they were talking down to someone who could outsmart them without breaking a sweat. They hate seeing that your quiet wasn't fear. It was control. They hate knowing the world is finally seeing you in definition, and there's not a single thing they can do to drag you back into the low-resolution version they liked. One more picture, because apparently they need visuals to understand what words couldn't. Picture your identity as a fire built in parts, first small, then bigger with more fuel. While you were building, all they saw was smoke. They laughed at the haze because their imaginations couldn't see the flame. But the moment you lit the match and the fire climbed high, suddenly everyone pretended they knew it was coming. Please. If they had known, they wouldn't have talked the way they did. They wouldn't have underestimated you. They wouldn't have been so shocked. Their reactions show them every time. For you, this is where you finally realize something important. You were never hiding to protect yourself. You were hiding to protect your potential from the eyes. You might be asking, why didn't the universe let them see the me earlier? Why did I have to carry a version for so long? Because early exposure destroys brilliance. The universe needed you to grow without being targeted. You needed time to build your identity, your voice, your strength, your confidence. The slow reveal wasn't weakness. It was a way to grow. Look back at your past for a moment. You weren't invisible. You were hard to understand. People saw parts of you they couldn't make sense of. They felt energy they couldn't explain. You made them uncomfortable without trying. You made them curious without speaking. You made them defensive without doing anything. Your existence alone changed their system, so they put their ideas on you. Dishonesty, arrogance, trying too hard mystery. Because they couldn't say the real truth. You were bigger than their imagination.